Hi guys, this is a first. I'm very behind today, and hence I'm doing this on the road. I'm not driving. I am in the passenger seat. I forgot to put my eyebrows on today, so it's been one of those days and just super behind. So I'm going to attempt this in the car. I don't know how reception will be, so if it cuts out, maybe I'll do it later instead. But just wanted to go over things because the main thing basically that I know that people are asking me and that's come up is of course the Bank of Canada. So their interest rate today at 10 a.m. they announced it to go up 25 basis points. In other words, 0.25. So it was 4.75 and now it is 5%. Thank you guys. Sorry, I can see you messaging there. Thank you for popping on. So yeah, that's the main thing that I'm going to talk about today. I'm still going to do the questions and answers from you guys, as well as some happy news, but I'm going to go over a lot of that just because everybody's wondering what that means. It was already the highest it's been since 2001 at the 4.75, and now it's 5%. So I'm just going to go over that, okay? Disregard the weed whacker in the car, and disregard me in the car. I'm not driving, so I'm being somewhat safe, okay? So first question comes from Chris, and Chris is in Stainer, okay? And again, I apologize for being in the car while doing this, but time is limited. So Chris said, if I move out east and I don't like it, do you think it's fairly probable I won't be able to get back into Ontario's market? Is there any way I could kind of save myself or protect myself in any way, shape, or form into getting back into Ontario? So thank you, Chris, for asking. We get a lot of people that ask that, whether it's leaving the province or moving up north, and then they're afraid they can't get back into the market. So obviously, you know, whether you sell a home and stay in, you know, in Ontario and just rent for a while or what have you, it's kind of the same thing. But what we've told other people, if possible, so we had one couple that we helped move out just outside of Halifax, and they they bought a waterfront. It's a riverfront actually, and they rented Airbnb. And when they come back to visit their family and her sister and his parents and that kind of thing, they stay at their cottage, and so that just leaves them like a foot in the door kind of thing. So if Ontario's real estate goes up 50%, but out by Halifax or what have you doesn't, they still have that foot in the door. Obviously, that's not in the cards for everybody because they can't afford to buy in two places, or maybe they would have to rent out in Halifax and they want to buy, etc. So that's not for everybody. But besides that, you can't really do much else. Of course, if the interest rates go up and continue to go up, it will bring the prices down. So then maybe you sell a house for $700 and maybe the same home will be worth $600 when you get back. So maybe you'll still be able to get in that way. But thank you for asking, and hopefully that helps a little bit. I know it's kind of random, but I appreciate you asking. So I'm going to do a little bit of happy news before I do the real estate, okay? And again, I apologize because I'm in the car. I've never done it in the car, and it's a little bit awkward, okay? So there was a happy mechanic, basically happy to help. There was a young family with two girls and a boy, and they were visiting around, touring around Australia, and the 9-year-old little boy is in an electric wheelchair, and I guess it broke during their vacation, and so she put a post on social media just seeing if there was anybody around. They were in a lot of small towns, like 3,000 and 4,000 people, and somebody suggested a certain mechanic, and that mechanic was surprised when he saw the wheelchair because he just heard it was a wheelchair, but he didn't know it was for a child. So when he saw it was so small and that kind of thing, he rushed to get the parts when he found out what was needed, and had it fixed in a couple of days, and they were able to get on their way. And then a couple days later, the little boy was able to go up in a helicopter for the first time, and he called the mechanic a legend. So that was cute. And anyways, next question, just me being my randomness before I get into real estate updates. So next question, again, I apologize in the car, it's a little awkward in here. There's too many pages here. Next question. Oh my goodness. The driver is a little, woo! Next question is from Jason in Washago. Jason in Washago said, my family has a cottage that has been in our family since the 1920s. It is in all of the grandkids' names, but is getting to the point where only 2 of us are really contributing. It needs a new roof and the windows are horrendous, but the others don't plan on paying for anything. And putting any money into it. What should we do? I don't want to really pay for it, and then they all benefit from it. That unfortunately does get tricky, Jason. Thank you for asking. So you could say, for example, you know, hey, we're putting X amount into it and blah, blah, blah. So maybe you get X amount out of it in the end, and then it gets split 6 ways or 8 ways or whatever it is. or you say, hey, split it now 6 ways or 8 ways and it's this amount. So if they can't afford to do it, you can put that forward. But obviously with family it gets a little bit tricky and everybody has to agree. So yeah, it's a little bit tricky. You can ask for them to contribute, and if not, ask that you are reimbursed it at the end and then it gets split. But if they don't agree, then either you have a leaky roof and bad windows, or you do it and just suck up the cost. So I'm sorry that you're in that predicament. Next thing, happy news, was a police officer, and he's from Mumbai, the slums of Mumbai, and he actually got out of them. And so that's obviously in India, for majority of you are aware. So he grew up there with a couple of siblings, and basically there you don't go to school, you go out to work and so forth, just because of, you know, poverty and so forth. So eventually, as an adult, he did get out of it, and he went back to school, and he became a police officer, which was the dream of his dad for years, but his dad was never able to do that, just raising a family and so forth in the slums. And so as he was a police officer there, he started to obviously realize it's hard for kids to get out because they don't have schooling. So he started to volunteer his days off in a parking lot, and he would teach kids anywhere from 3 years old to 18 years old different things, and people started to hear about it, and they started to donate books and donate uniforms, and all the rickshaws there, like the little carts, they would take the kids home after school and so forth. And now there's tons of teachers, and they all still meet in the same parking lot where he used to meet back in the day. So he just realized, you know, hey, it was hard for me to get out, but it's even that much more harder when people don't have schooling. So if I can give the kids schooling and it gives kids a better chance of getting out of the slums, he really wanted to do that. So I liked that. I think I have one more thing before real estate. Next question's from Daryl, and Daryl is in Barrie. So Daryl from Barrie said, I heard one of my friends speaking about renting out a room for $1,100 in Barrie. Is that for real? That seems insanely high. Am I that old that it seems high? Thank you, Daryl, for asking. I've actually heard of that as well. I've heard of $1,000. I did hear of somebody $1,300, and they were providing food. So they said 2 meals a day, and basically the lady was cooking like big pots of soup and just giving them soup for lunch and dinner, and $1,300. I said a day, $1,300 a day, $1,300 a month, sorry. So then she's getting lunch and dinner for her tenants, and they're paying $1,300 a month just for a room with a shared kitchen and a shared living room and bathroom, etc., which is crazy. Last time I rented rooms, they were $500 a room, but obviously people's mortgages are higher and so forth, so it all has to make sense. But thank you for asking. But so yeah, totally could be $1,100, especially if it's really close to the college or school, etc. Okay, so there's one more thing before I do the real estate updates. So there was a lady, and she's 31, and she has a father and a stepfather, and the stepfather, I guess, has been in her life for more than 2 decades. And as she was going down the aisle, she grabbed her stepdad's hand, and basically they both walked her down the aisle. Her dad already knew about it, but it was a surprise to her stepdad, and it was all caught on video, and obviously he didn't know about it, so his emotion showed. So it was super cute. So I obviously like that just because it was cute. I also have a stepfather as well, who's been in my life since I was 10. So those are some breaks. Next is real estate. So like I said, the interest rates went up today. So the Bank of Canada did put their interest rates up 0.25. So again, it went from 4.75 to 5. So this is the 3rd time it has gone up this year. So it went up in June, and it went up January 25th. So 3 times this year. There were 2 times that it did not go up this year. So January 25th it went up, the next 2 times it didn't, and then the last 2 times it did. Once again in June and once today. Last year there were 7 times that the interest rate went up. So that is obviously majority of what's on people's minds. Now, in the past, since the last interest hike in June, we've still had lots of bidding wars. So for example, we had 29 on our listing on Stewart, we had 6 on our listing on Maitland, 6 on our listing on Pearl, 5 on our listing on Island, and 11 on our listing on Corbett. So even though the interest rates had gone up, there's still bidding wars. Now all of these price points are, Stewart was $499, Maitland was, what were they? $599. Pearl was $599. Corbett was $499, and Island was $599. So you can see price point wise, these aren't homes listed for $999 or anything. They're basically all $499 to, actually one was $650, $499 to $650. Pearl was $650. So you can see it's more first-time buyers, a lot of people downsizing, etc. There was a recent study that showed more than a third of people that are looking for homes are looking for a smaller home right now, because if there is an adjustment to the market and they say, hey, I'm in a smaller home and, you know, I lost 20% as opposed to a multi-million-dollar home and lost 20%, the hit doesn't seem as bad. Now, of those 5 properties I mentioned to you, 3 of the 5 took conditional offers, and one of the people said, no, I don't like any of them, and then the other one was firm. And then one of those people that took a conditional offer, those people backed out because of financing, and then they got another accepted offer, then those people backed out. So basically we're seeing a lot more mutual releases now than normal. Way more people with conditions. For example, the 29 offers, only 6 of them were firm, whereas last year if we got 29 offers, 28 would be firm. So that's something that we're seeing different, and we're seeing more people back out than normal. Let's just say before 1 out of 50 would back out, and now I'd say about 2 out of 10, so 80% are firming up and then 20% are not. So that's something that we're seeing. So Bank of Canada is basically just saying they're doing it because of inflation. So even though they saw inflation fall to 3.4%, they're saying the consumer spending is still too high. So that's why they're doing it. What did they say? So what does that mean? Obviously, if you have a variable mortgage, it'll go up right away, as well as bonds will go up right away, as well as HELOC, so your home equity line of credit. I'm sorry if it's making you dizzy with the trees there. So those will all go up right away. If you're obviously locked into a fixed mortgage, it won't until you go to renew, and then depending on what time it is, or not what time it is, what the interest rate is at that time. What else was I going to say? So on average, when the interest rates go up, it does put pressure to bring the prices down. But because there are so many people that are trying to get back into the market, because they're saying, hey, that home that used to be $800 is now $600 or $625, and more people are getting... Sorry, we lost connection, bad connection in this country roads. I'm going to show some properties. So what was I saying? Oh yeah, more people are trying to downsize and so forth in case the value of their home goes down. It's not as much of a hit. What I was saying before about the multiple offers, so we're still seeing lots of that. So for example, Corbett, we did have 11 offers, and it was like more than 150,000 over asking. So it's not like only 2,000 over asking or 20,000. There's still crazy offers coming in, and that was already with the interest rate that had gone up last time of the 0.25. Okay. Now, if, for example, you had a $925,000 mortgage and you just got it, so you have 5-year and say you're on a variable, you're going to be looking at paying about $5,413 a month. Now, with the 0.25% that has gone up today, you're going to be looking at about $5,540 a month, so it's $127 more a month. So some people say $127, man, that's nothing, you know, easy to swallow kind of thing, and other people are saying, hey, that's like a tank of gas, that's some of my groceries, etc. So depending on the people on what, you know, position they're in, $127 is a lot to them. So that is what the 0.25% does on a $925,000 home purchase. Okay. And I had mentioned before that 4.75 was the highest that the interest rate had been since 2001. So obviously, being now 5%, it is still the highest it's been since 2001. So that obviously has not changed. So the governor of the Bank of Canada, her name is Tiff McKillum. She says these decisions are difficult, and we discussed the possibility of holding rates, but our assessment was the cost of delaying the reaction was larger than the benefit of waiting. I do not agree with that. However, that is not my decision, unfortunately. They also mentioned that the rates might stay high until mid-2025, which is not very favorable, because obviously when people come to renew their mortgage, etc., it's going to be that much harder for people, as some people haven't felt the hit of that. What else? The next announcement is in September, so there are still 3 more announcements this year. It doesn't mean they're all going to go up. Majority of economists are saying it'll go up 1 more time this year. They did do a study with 180 communities lately, so it was not just the home price there, but basically what the employment is, as well as proximity to community services, schools, rec centers, etc. And the most affordable place came up was Osage Beach, and then the next 3 places were all around Ottawa. So Ottawa was 4th, and 2nd and 3rd were Nepean, I don't know how you say that, and Castleman. One is a suburb of Ottawa and one is an hour east of Ottawa. So mostly all around Ottawa except for Wasaga Beach. So even with all the interest rate hikes, it's still the 5th year in a row that our prices have gone up. So that's good, month over month, 5 months in a row that they're going up from 1 month to the next month, which is great. And from January till now, Canada as a whole has an average $116,000 more average price point than it was in January, which is still great. BC had the highest gain, so they were over 5%, 5.1% to be exact. Ontario went up 3.3% since January, and Saskatchewan 3.2% since January. Toronto hasn't been faring as well. They actually sold less. So they sold 7,481 homes last month, whereas the year prior they sold 9,012 homes the same month. Again, I apologize for doing this in the car. So the demand for housing is higher now than it was in 2022. In 2022, everybody heard of all the crazy prices, etc., and didn't really want to be against it. There was a lot of investors and so forth. But a lot of people now have come out of the wings and the, bleachers or whatever you want to call it, and they're all trying to get back in because pricing is more affordable. And it's actually gone up. So it's actually up 3.2% from last year in the GTA. The average sales price is now 1.182, 120 to be exact, in the GTA, which is up again 3.2% over last year because there's just more people. They're saying, hey, the prices make sense to us or what have you, even though I just said they were up, even though interest rates are higher, but more people are getting in. So that is good. So Chief Market Analysis Jason Mercer said that all eyes are on the interest rates because obviously that will affect things. So if they go up the next 3 times or down the next 3 times, etc., that will affect things severely. So I've mentioned in the past a lot buyers leaving the province. So that obviously is still continuing to happen as a lot of people can't afford to be in there into the province. And I know that Calgary just had their stampede. It's like 10 days or what have you, but a lot of articles are joking that they went straight from the stampede to buy a home. So the average home in Calgary, which is Alberta's biggest city, is $552,273, so much cheaper than Ontario. So they're getting a lot of people out there. Their home sales were up 11% over last year, and their condo sales are up 48%, which is crazy, 48%. A lot of business owners have also been feeling the hit. So as people have to put more money into their home, etc., for their mortgage and so forth, they're not spending it on businesses. So business owners are feeling the brunt of it, but then they don't have the money to pay their mortgage. So it's just a bit of a snowball effect in that way. There was a recent report, so it was called Home Stretched. It said tackling Ontario's housing affordability crisis through innovative solutions. And basically it was saying that everybody's building these $1.5 million homes can't even afford to live there. So the framers, the plumbers, the electricians, etc., they can't afford to live there because the prices are so high. And also a lot of big companies are saying they can't get the people to come work for them because certain people are saying, hey, avoid this area, etc., because there's nothing to rent and it's really high. So they're having a hard time getting laborers, and a lot of laborers are very close to retirement or have already retired during the pandemic. So that is making it a bit harder as well. They're also, in that same study, they're talking about low-income earners being pushed into homelessness because as sellers, not even sellers, as homeowners have to make more money to even break even every month, they're upping rent, and then the people that don't make a lot of money aren't able to afford that, so then some of them are becoming homeless. So that was also in that study, or report I should say. So it was mostly about that. And then there's a bunch of towns and cities looking into 15-minute communities. So they're basically saying, what can we have within 15 minutes where you can walk, ride a bike, or take transit within 15 minutes. They could be at a store, be at a school, etc. So they're trying to see, hey, if we take away cars and so forth, and it helps people save money, what can we do and where can we be? A lot of people have also asked about cottage country. I had to switch hands because my wrist is getting sore. Cottage country. So cottage country is not as crazy as last year. Obviously everything was crazy last year, but cottage country is not as crazy. So we still have had bidding wars up there, but a lot of the sellers are saying, hey, okay, we get that 8 offers came in or what have you, but we don't like the highest one, so we're just going to cancel and list closer to what we want. So that is something that has been happening more so in cottage country than we've seen before. What else was I going to say? So there was one economist, and she studies interest rates and so forth, and she's saying, you know, the inventory, basically, what's the demand, what's the inventory, and so forth. It's looking a lot like 2016 and 2020. Now, not the sales price. They're not, you know, that as low as 2016 or 2020, not the sales price, just the inventory. The amount of buyers versus the amount of sellers is looking very similar to that, and which is why she still thinks house prices are going to go up. So a lot of economists are saying that house prices are still going to go up as we head into the second half of 2023. BC and Ontario are supposed to feel the highest amounts of that, so we're supposed to have the strongest you know, fall and winter seasons. It's weird to say fall when it's still summer, but BC and Ontario are supposed to do the best for that. A lot of economists are hoping that baby boomers don't want to own their homes as long, and they're just saying, hey, if they, you know, go into retirement or go into this, that, or the other, then there'll be more inventory. So they're hoping for that, since the 1.5 million homes that are supposed to be built, we're not on par for, so they're doing that. What else? Building permits are up, which is good. So even though we're behind on the 1.5 million homes being built, building permits are up. And that was from Statistics Canada. They're up 10.5%. The problem with it is it's not residential. So it's commercial is the highest, industrial second, and then residential is actually down 1.3. So it's down 1.3% for residential, which is not good. On average, it's 8.5% that we're up, but again, majority is commercial, and majority is actually multifamily even when it gets to residential. So even though residential was down 1.3, there were over 17,000 permits done for multi-residential, and there was only 3,800 done for single family. That's throughout Ontario. Now, the biggest growth for permits that we've seen across Canada is in New Brunswick, and that was up 10.8% over last year. Alberta was up 4.7%, and BC was up 3.6%. They didn't even put Ontario on the graph, so we probably didn't do that good on it. On a side note, there was a home the other day that just sold for $550,000 over asking, which is crazy. It was number 18, and a lot of Chinese people believe that it means immense wealth. So I know they love 8s, but they also love 18 as their favorite number. So if you live in house number 18, you should be good to go for the Asian investors or Asian folks. So next question comes from Matt, and Matt is in Innisfil. How far away are we? Oh, 2 minutes. I'm not going to be able to finish this, so I'm going to do Matt's question. Matt says, my fiance and I rent, and we have been in the same property for 15 years. The owners offered us to buy it. If we don't, however, he is listing the property and says most owners probably won't want to keep us. How do we know if the price is right and fair that he's offering us? Thank you, Matt, for asking. It's nice that he did offer that to you. I'm sure any realtor would be happy to help you, so they can show you, hey, here's active, here's sold. The value of the home is $850 or $650 or $1,050, or I seem to be on the 50 train, whatever it is, so you can feel comfortable with it. And then just take into consideration that he wouldn't be paying commission, so you should be saving that. So if the value is $850, all those people that paid $850, they did pay a realtor, both sides. So just make sure that you are saving that, since he's just doing it privately. Okay. And we're 1 minute or 2 minutes, so I have to go. I still have 3 or 4 questions from you guys and some stuff, but I have to show a house. I'm late, so hence why I'm in the car. And I apologize. Have a super evening. Thank you guys for popping in, and all the best. And again, sorry for the hectic crazy in the car. Go after your dreams, do whatever lights you up, and be kind to one another. Thank you again, and have a beautiful evening.